what is the goal of Seder night? Throughout Am Yisrael, different groups and different communities have different minhagim and different things that they're careful about and things that they're less careful about. And but Seder night seems to be something that is carries through almost every community and every single, even many Reform Jews have Pesach Seders, and many secular Israelis have Pesach Seders. What is it? What is the power of Seder night that seems to really speak to everyone and hasn't been diluted? Maybe it has been diluted sometimes, but it has been less diluted. By assimilation and history. So there is a famous Ramban at the end of Parshas Bo, where the Ramban says, "Allow me to tell you about the secret, in a certain sense, behind many mitzvos." Now, the Ramban was just talking about tefillin and about how we mention in the tefillin Yetzias Mitzrayim. And he says, let me tell you why so many mitzvos have a theme of Yetzias Mitzrayim to them. And he goes on to explain that there are 3 different types of apikorsim in the world. There are 3 different types of people who deny God in this world. There are those who deny that there is a God. There are those who deny that God is all-powerful. And there are those who deny that God is involved in the world. And he explains that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, through the Makos in Mitzrayim, answers up all 3 of those apikorsim. And he quotes from the Psukim that there's a few statements that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, L'man teda ki ani Hashem, you should know, I am God. I am He, not me. This is Hashem speaking. There is a God that's running the world. Boom. Makos. That's answer number 1. Don't think there's no God. He's like, I am here. Number 2. If you might think that there is a God, but He's not all-powerful, He's not in control of everything. So the Pasuk says, I don't remember the exact Lashon, but I think it's L'man teda kili ha'aretz, I believe Hashem. I believe that's what the Pasuk says. You should know that the earth is mine. Everything that happens in this world is up to me. And for those of you who think that maybe there is a God, and maybe He is all-powerful, but He's just not involved in our world, He's just disengaged, He created the world, just let it be. Kadosh Baruch Hu says, L'man teda ki ani Hashem b'kerev ha'aretz. I am God who exists on this earth. I am involved. And that's what we saw from the Makos, where nature turned against itself. Where we think that the world exists in a certain way. Rav Nebenzahl pointed this out a few years ago. We went to go visit him before Pesach. Where we think the world works in certain ways. There's laws of physics, and there's laws of gravity, and there's laws of inertia, there's laws of chemistry. And people study these things in college for many years so that they can know how the world works, right? But guess what? There was a time in history when all of those rules were suspended. You know why? Because those rules were put in place by Hashem, and when Hashem wanted to, He was able to change those rules. Because Kili Kol Haaretz. Because Hashem is in control of the world. And so therefore, says the Ramban, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us many mitzvos with the theme of Yetzias Mitzrayim, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not obligated to show up and face down and answer Himself up to every fool and heretic that exists throughout history. You're walking down the street, maybe you pass by Ben Yehuda, you probably shouldn't, but okay, you pass by, you're not there, and some guy is there, he's like, I don't believe in God, I'm an agnostic, I'm an atheist, and I have a question and all this. If God really exists, He should show me a sign. Give me a break, man. You can't even tie your shoes or whatever. You can't hold down a job or whatever. Why does God have to answer to you? And that's true for all of us. So what happened was that Yetzias Mitzrayim represents that time in history where Hashem said, I exist, I am all-powerful, and I run this world. And I'm going to take care of the Jewish people, and I'm going to take them out of Mitzrayim with these signs and wonders. so that everyone should know that I exist, that I'm involved, that I exist, I'm all powerful, and I'm involved. Yes?
Is that on the whole?
No. These are the 10 plagues.
On the right, I need Hashem to carry
Oh, yeah. There you go. Nice. Yes, Jeff.
Didn't he just reveal himself to the Mitzrim and the Jews? What about every other person?
So the Mitzvah at that time, they were the world power. They were the most powerful nation in the world.
There was no social media.
People heard about it. I mean, you see from Rashi later on when it says that by Amalek, that when Amalek came to attack, all the other nations were scared to attack Bnei Israel because they had all heard about what happened in Mitzrayim. Right? All the nisim that had happened, when the sea split, like all the water in the whole world split. Right? So meaning people knew. People knew that this is where it leads to. What it leads to is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's revelation of His power on the night of Yetzias Mitzrayim was a way of declaring to the world His love and His care for Am Yisrael, and also His rulership and His involvement in running the world. And the Ramban goes a step further to say a very, very almost scary line, where he says that, and by us telling these stories, telling the Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim, by us telling the story about Yetzias Mitzrayim, and talking about the Nisim Haniglim, talking about the revealed miracles that happen in the world, a person will come to believe in Nisim Nistarim, in the hidden miracles, the things that we don't see so obviously, but that there are hidden miracles in our lives. All the stories that that we'll tell, like, oh my gosh, and this happened, so he missed that bus, so that, when there was this attack, and it saved his life. Like, all these incredible miracles that happen are Nisim Nistarim. That's all Hashem's Hashgacha. That's all Hashem running the world. And he goes so far as to say, the Ramban, he says that, and if somebody doesn't believe that, they don't have a share in the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu. Meaning to say that it's a fundamental of our faith, which is expressed through the Seder night, that Hashem Yisparach runs the world, and that He is making miracles happen all the time. It's up to us to discover those. And then comes, and that's being testified to through many mitzvahs that we do that have a theme of Zeichel Yetzias Mitzrayim. Right? When we say Kiddush, and when we sit in the Sukkah, and when we shake the lulav and esrog, and when we eat matzah, and when we have the Seder and tell the story, all of these mitzvahs, all the mitzvahs that we do that are Zeichel Yetzias Mitzrayim, are there in order to us constantly testify and reinforce the message to ourselves and to the world that Hashem runs the world, He exists, He's all powerful, and He is involved, and He cares about us. And this is a line that was like so simple that I heard many years ago from Rav Yaakov Moshe Katz, a very popular Rebbe in the Mir. He was in Yeshiva University visiting his father-in-law, and he gave a little vad, and he said, the mitzvah of Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim is very straightforward. It is that the father's obligation in telling the story to his son is to say that we see from the story Hashem loves us, and Hashem takes care of us. That's it. And you can have a gazillion divrei Torah on the Haggadah, but if you don't say that, it's not clear if you're fulfilling the mitzvah of Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim. It is an obligation. You should tell your son on that day, saying that HaKadosh Baruch Hu took us out of Mitzrayim, that Hashem loves us and He took care of us. Now, the role of the father and the son in the Seder kind of gets a little funny, right? We have 4 sons, and there have been different interpretations as to who those sons are, and maybe they are people coming from different cultures, and maybe the people are coming from different backgrounds. And sometimes it's not always necessarily that there's the father teaching the son in the at the family Seder. Sometimes it's the son teaching the father, and we see that here in Aish many times, where you have guys who go back to their families and they share a Seder with their family, and the boy who's learning in yeshiva and he's developing knowledge and he's gaining Torah knowledge, he becomes the teacher at the Seder. And that's okay, because Chazal tell us that that Atikei Banecha, not that one, but that Talmidim are also Korean Banim, that students are also called sons. So if a person in front of you winds up teaching your parents, teaching your siblings, being the one to have more Divrei Torah, more, so maybe you're fulfilling this with Vigat L'Vincha. I mean, I'm saying that in Drush, not in Halacha, but I think the idea is true, is that we should all start to feel the obligation to make sure that the correct themes of a Pesach are being expressed. Just to end off with a short idea, so there's Machlokas in the Gemara, Rav and Shmuel. The Gemara says that when we tell the story, it has to start with the Genai and end with the Shvach. We have to start with the negative part of the story and end with the positive. So what's the negative and what's the negative? So it's Machlokas, Rav and Shmuel. One says it's Mitchila Odeh Avodah Zarah Haydav Aseinu. Originally our forefathers were idol worshippers, like going all the way back to Avram Avinu. And the other says no, it's Avadim Hayinu L'Parvim Mitzrayim, right? So what do? Have a burger students? What do? We do both. Yeah, there you go. You can just mention have a burger, then you get the answer you want. So right, so we have in the Haggadah, we have both, right? But ironically, it doesn't go in chronological order. It goes in the order of Avadim Hayinu comes first, right after the Manishtana, and then a little bit in we say Mitchila Odeh Avodah Zarah Haydav Aseinu. So I was always wondering, what is this machlokas about, and and why didn't we just pass him one way or another? So again, in Drush, I'll say a pshat that the question is, what do we get out of the power? What do we get out of the Seder night? What is the messaging supposed to be? Is it really about, maybe it's about personal growth, that I'm supposed to glean from the story, I'm supposed to, be inspired and grow, or maybe it's something more nationalistic, something more like broader, bigger picture, that is like Pirsume Nisa almost. It's like we're telling the story in order to publicize the miracle that Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim and He made us into this chosen people. So, I thought maybe you could touch that into that Chakir in a sense into this Machlokas, that if you start the story from Mitchila Odeh Avodah Zarah Haydav Aseinu, you say, look at us, we're a bunch of, Avram Avinu was like a guy who grew up worshiping Avodah Zarah. He didn't know any better, and he discovered Hashem. And throughout that time, Hashem was always with him, and then was with his children, took care of us, right? And it's a very personal message, and it's beautiful, right? But that's like, so then maybe that's what I'm supposed to get out of the night, personal growth. On the other hand, no, maybe it's Avadim Hayinu L'Parvim Mitzrayim. Look at us as a people. We were in a decrepit place. We were under the oppression of Egypt. And then Hashem took us out, and we say Asher Galanu V'Galas Avaseinu. He redeemed us. He took us out. It brought us to lived us a space of Bechira, right? He brought us through the desert. He gave us Shabbos. He gave us the Torah, and we came to Eretz Yisrael, and we built a Beis HaMikdash. Look where we got as a people. Pretty incredible, right? That's also a pretty awesome story. So is it the individual or is it part of the group? The answer is both. Right? But we start with Avadim Hayinu. Why? Because the whole group really needs that individual personal growth as well. So on the Haggadah night, we should be telling the story, and we should be following the Haggadah, and we should be telling that story of us as a people. Avadim Hayinu L'Parvim Mitzrayim, until Livnos the space of Bechira, until HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought us back to Eretz Yisrael, brought us to Eretz Yisrael, we're able to build the Beis HaMikdash. And that should be part of our consciousness of what we're getting out of the Seder night. But at the same time, you cannot forget the personal growth. The individual has to look at himself as like, I came from an Avram Avinu, and look what happened throughout our history, and this is where we are. And just to finish off, a story which sometimes I tell more on Tisha B'Av, but Tisha B'Av and Pesach are on the same night they're always on the same night of the year, meaning the same night of the week. They're like parallels in certain ways. There's a story about a family that had their beautiful Seder somewhere in America, in their big house, with lots of nice food, fancy tablecloths. And they get to the end of the Seder and they sing L'Shana B'Av Yerushalayim Habaniyah. And what happens? The wife starts to cry. She's crying. And the husband turns to her and says, honey, what's the matter? Why are you crying? She says, I don't want to go to Yerushalayim. I like it here with our nice house and our nice car and our comfortable jobs. I don't want to go to Eretz Yisrael. I don't want to go to Yerushalayim. So the husband says, sweetheart, don't worry. It's just a song. You can laugh at that story and you can cry at that story. So we should make sure that the individual growth that we really all need goes far beyond just singing the songs of the Pesach Seder. It should go far beyond just saying Divrei Torah, but it should be reaffirming and reconfirming our recognition and our role in affirming for the world that HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves us, that He will take care of us. He always has and He always will.